Morning, everybody. We'll start at 10 o'clock and welcome everybody. Beautiful Monday morning. And especially welcome to Councillor Spear. Who's here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lovely to see you.
Thank you.
Reminder, can we all switch off our mobile phones? There are members of the public perhaps attending this meeting virtually, so remember to switch off your microphone to avoid any disruption during the meeting. Meeting being recorded will be available in due course on the Council's YouTube channel. Reminder for councillors to ensure that those attending virtually can hear the proceedings of the recordings to capture the entire meeting. Please ensure that you project your voice and speak clearly. Please remember it's a formal meeting, therefore do not refer to people by first names. There's no fire alarm planned, so if you hear the fire alarm, get out. And to councillors, can I ask please that we stay behind after the formal meeting for a brief informal meeting? Ken's got a couple of points to bring up with us. Okay, thank you. Apologies for absence.
I've received apologies from Councillor Caroline Eva, Councillor Milton, Councillor Wilkinson, and Councillor Hunt, who will be hopefully attending virtually, but not yet.
Yeah, thank you. Any other apologies? Okay, can we get those apologies? Yeah, all in favour of accepting those, thank you. Minutes of the last meeting held on the 3rd of March 2025. Anybody got any comments, issues? Councillor Bell?
Well, very quickly on page 2, it's the point we made about the street marshals, make sure that we keep those, make sure that we provide them with bus services. It would be great to get an update on that at some point, see how that's moving forwards.
Okay. Yeah, do that. Any other issues, comments? Somebody move the recommendation of the minutes. Seconded by Councillor Bell. All those in favour of the minutes? Thank you. No items, item 3 and no items.
Yeah, I wonder whether I should have mentioned before. Would it be appropriate if we congratulated Barnstable Rugby Club on their promotion back to national? And I think it's particularly pertinent for this council because we were really 20 odd years ago, we're really involved in securing the long-term future of the club on that site, and helped them a lot financially as well at the time. I just think be really nice if we just recorded it, but you know, the success that, and it's not just the first team, it's the whole club. It's a real community of kids and things. So just think it'd be worth mentioning today, Chair. Sorry, I should have been.
No, absolutely. And I particularly welcome fantastically good news. After spending the weekend doing a 600-mile round trip to Rochdale to watch them lose from Wembley, and they were winning 2-1, last minute of extra time, equalising and lost on penalties to Spennymoor. Spennymoor, a league below. So yeah,
Barnstable could be on.
Bitter at all. I'm just pleased that Barnstable have done the.
They could be on the way to Twickenham as well in the cup because Lawson have thrown the towel in again. They'll win the final.
Brilliant. Thank you for keeping us all updated.
Seconded.
Seconded by Councillor Whittingham. Okay, moving on. There's no items been brought forward. Item 4, anybody wants to declare declarations of interest? No. Okay. Item 5, there's no item B, so we'll move on to part A. Item 6, approval and release of S106 Public Open Space Fund for Chumley.
Good morning, Chair.
Morning.
Hopefully a straightforward one for you this morning. So this project is for public realm improvements from Chumley, and the report seeks to allocate the Section 106 plus open space contributions required to deliver that scheme. So the recommendations are that 2.1 strategy resources allocates £36,935 60 to Chumley Parish Council towards the cost of delivering the improvements at Red Line Corner. 2.2, to consider the outcomes of the equality impact assessment as summarised in paragraph 6 of the report, and 2.3, that subject to the approval of 2.1 and consideration of 2.2, the Strategy Resource Committee recommends Council vary the capital programme by 36,935.60 funds. And the funds will be subject to a funding agreement on such terms and conditions may be agreed by a senior solicitor and managing officer for external projects.
Thank you, Richard. Any comments? Any questions? Councillor
One
Whitman?
question. I should know, but I don't. Red Lion Corner sounds like a corner next to a pub. I mean, is it? Right. Right.
Question.
Publicly
The question is there a large area?
It's I'm trying to put it into context for someone from Henton.
Bishop's Thornton even worse.
So I would say it's about, roughly speaking, about 6-7 square meters that sits away from the path. It's actually a corner of public realm that's next to the pub, so it's not owned by the pub. So it's a nice space that older generations tend to congregate. But at the moment,
Next to a pub, yeah. It wasn't entirely mischievous question.
yeah, it's one of very few town centre areas in Chumley that's publicly owned where people can go and sit. So yeah, they want to do some seating, permanent seating and planting, a bit like we did down at the library square in Barnstable town centre.
Similar areas, so.
A little bit smaller in size, but similar kind of scheme.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No? Will you move the recommendation?
I think that's only.
All those in favour of the recommendations? Thank you. Thank you. I keep on looking at Councillor Walker not putting her hand up. I've just realised you're not on the committee, are you? Thank you. Item 7, household fund update, Sarah.
Good morning, councillors. So yes, this is just a quick report, to update you on where we are with the household fund and also request some funds be allocated to Northern Food Bank. So we've just completed our 6th version of the fund. It started in 2021, and in that time we've awarded over £2 million to over 20,000 households within North Devon. So the recommendation is obviously to note this, but also to approve the grant of 12,000 to the Northern Devon Food Bank. This is residual funds from the last household fund. The vast majority of our awards are via vouchers, either via post office for cash, so people can use it for actual bills, or for vouchers for supermarkets for food or white goods, etc. There are times when those vouchers aren't cashed, and so therefore after 3 months those funds are then returned to us. Normally during the fund we would just normally then reallocate those funds to new applicants. However, obviously at the very end of a fund there are some then that haven't been used, and we would normally then roll that over to the new year and to the new household fund. This time we're asking for those funds to be allocated to the food bank in order for them to be able to award fuel top-ups to those households most in need. It's something we've done for a number of years, and we found money right here, there and everywhere over the past few years. So this is just a request really to continue that for the next 2 years with that £12,000.
Yeah, thank you. Sarah, any questions? Councillor Bell?
Thank you, Jack. 2 questions. Thank you very much. So thank you very much for all you're doing. It's absolutely fantastic. I know that everyone would agree with that. Can I, this is a slightly wider question, but obviously I fully support giving the £12,000 to North Devon Food Bank. Something that's come up in the past with Braunton, South Street Food Bank in Braunton, is that, of course, as it's a church-run food bank, it doesn't qualify for councillor grants. That is correct, isn't it? Good. Thank you. That's obviously there for a good reason, but not being able to use council grants to support a food bank in the local area is problematic. It's something that definitely benefits the entire community, and it would be nice moving forwards. In fact, this is outside the scope of what we're talking about today, to be able to use council grants, maybe not for all religious purposes, but when it comes down to a food bank being run by a church, I think that would be an area where we perhaps need to have a bit of a change.
It is a different scheme, councillor.
Philip, yes.
Yeah, that is the councillor community grant scheme.
Yeah.
So we can take that suggestion on board and if necessary bring a report back to members looking at possibly changing it.
Thank you very much. It was only that I was reading this a couple of nights ago, and I thought there was this question that it would be good to raise at this point. My other one, which is relevant to this, thank you very much, Ken. The uncashed vouchers. Obviously, that's quite a lot. People come to us in some need. I'm really wondering. Well, I know it's impossible to answer why are they not cashing their vouchers. That's very difficult, and it's unfortunate because people's needs don't change that quickly, and certainly not in the scale we're looking at. What can we do to ensure, do we have an idea of why people aren't using them, and what can we do to ensure that people are encouraged to use the money that they've applied for and we've agreed that they do need, but for whatever reason they haven't used? It would be great to see what further could be done there.
Well, I know that all district councils who use vouchers, which I think is all of them, and Devon at least have exactly the same issue. I think it's normally between about 5 and 10%. Why? Obviously, it's down to the individual. I mean, all our application scheme, at least, is obviously run by third partners in the respect of we get the recommendations we get through the applications via the third party. So we administer that money to them on the recommendation from that third party that they're in need. The only thing I can suggest is maybe before we launch a new scheme, is we ask third parties if they're aware of why their clients aren't cashing that in. It's very difficult to say because obviously I'm sure every individual's got their own individual reason. I mean, we have had in the past individuals that have returned their vouchers and said, my circumstances have changed and I want you to award this to somebody else in more need than me. So that does happen occasionally. But yeah, no, we can certainly ask the third parties that but yeah. I mean, all I can say is when it isn't cash, we do get it back, and then we can then
Yes, it still goes to
reallocate. Yeah,
still goes to someone that needs it. I just worry that there might be certain questions of pride or principle that might stop people from using a voucher that they probably do still need. And in some cases they might not, but in some cases they really might.
They would have approached the third party in the first place for the support. So I'm sure pride must come into it, but the very fact they actually went to a third party in the first place to us would suggest that they are in need, and their pride doesn't forbid them from asking for it. But as far as individual reasons, I mean, we awarded on this scheme, for instance, the application scheme over 1,000 households. I couldn't possibly answer why perhaps 50 or 100 chose not to use them, unfortunately. But yeah, we can always ask, and when I meet with Team Devon, we can see what other authorities in the area are perhaps doing for this issue.
Very much. Thank you.
Councillor Hunt, I think has got a hand up.
Yeah, lovely, thank you. I'll be careful of my words here. When I was at the food bank, we had vouchers come in to give out, and they were very selected who they give them to say that. I personally would like to see vouchers be given to the agencies, and I'm not including Northern Devon Food Bank here. I mean the agencies like ACAS and all the rest, agencies that actually know that, and like health visitors that actually know the families that are really struggling, because pride does come into it. We see people that are really struggling, they will go without and they don't use the food bank. So I personally want to like to see the vouchers go to the actual agencies that know which families are struggling, than just, if they are like they were last time, just left in the food banks to help yourself. And if someone was in favour of someone, they would get more than one. So I think it's because no visits are ever done to Northern Food Bank to find out what really goes on behind the scene. Hence why I'm not there no more, because I had to think of my council reputation. But I'm going to be careful what I say, but perhaps I'll have a longer conversation with you when we're not sort of public.
I mean, if I can just say, I think we're talking about two separate things, Councillor Hunt. So
What about the vouchers?
we're not talking about food bank vouchers, no. We're talking about the house.
Council vouchers that go into the food
Yeah.
banks, is that correct?
No,
I do apologise then.
No, it's absolutely fine. No, this is the household support fund. So that is a scheme set by the government. And that
Okay,
scheme says we have to award to households most in need, which is what we do. And those are vouchers to use at supermarkets, for white goods, post office, and vouchers, and for cash if people have got specific bills. So although we're asking for this £12,000 to the food bank for gas and electric top ups, that's just residual from the household support fund. We're not talking about the food bank.
okay, I got you now. Yeah, and
The
what
food
happens is, because I've known one family that they were able to have gas and electric, but their electric was a bill, their card was a gas. How does that work on someone getting the electric if they've got a bill?
So again, I suppose if we're talking about two separate things, are we talking about just the household? Sorry, are we talking about just
Household.
so household support fund? We would
Yeah.
look on the application form by the third party. We'd look and see exactly what that need was, whether it was for fuel. It wouldn't matter in that case whether it was a bill or whether it was a top up, because normally for fuel we would say you have a post office voucher. I don't know, say for £200, they can go to the post office, get that actual money in their hand for £200, and then use that for the bill, the physical bill,
Right, got you.
or for the top up. So the fuel top ups out of the food bank are for those people who approach the food bank in need, completely separate from the household fund.
Okay,
It's funds then that the house that the food bank themselves can ascertain who is in need. We can obviously put those recommendations through, but also then it's just some funds so they can say, actually, here's £50 top up, meaning you've got some electric over the weekend. That's the aim of this £12,000. And as far as food bank vouchers, everything that's issued by us as a third party agency for the food bank is done on that advice from the food bank over who is entitled.
Okay.
With
right, lovely. Thank you very much for that. Thank you.
So, any other questions? Councillor looking at?
Yeah, just a quick one. Thank you, Sarah. HSF. Great policy. You mentioned that it's common to most councils that there's a 5 to 10% sort of residue, but ours is really low, isn't it? It's more like 2 or 3%.
it's not bad. Yeah, no, it's not bad. I mean, obviously, there's 12,000 isn't everything that wasn't cash, because if it was earlier on in the scheme, we'd have got those funds back and we'd have reallocated them to somebody else. Yeah.
That's okay. Thanks, Chair.
John?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. And this is really just to add to that. I think, as alluded to, obviously there's a significant amount of money gone out, but where other councils have been underspent on their schemes within Devon, Sarah's worked closely with Devon County to get more money allocated to North Devon when the demand has been higher. So actually we distributed more than the original allocation. Thus, where we've been given a top slice for admin, we've covered our direct admin costs, but then we've also reallocated elements of that admin money into the household support fund as well. So we've actually distributed more than our original allocations. I think it's worth just having that context for the wider discussion. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, any other questions? So we move the recommendation? Seconded by all those in favour? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Item 8. Don't know who's presenting this. John?
Members, you'll recall back in January you received a report on the off-street parking order, which looked forward to changes for 2026. In going through that order, and also a couple of things being pointed out to us recently from Linton Lynmouth Town Council, who run their car parks but under our off-street parking order, got a couple of proposed changes coming forwards this morning. Firstly, the Linton Limerick Town Council elements that were on the order covered a charging period from 8 in the morning till 6 at night. The car parks in Linton Limerick have historically only been charging from 10 a.m. until 6 at night, whereas the hourly charges that were shown in the order showed hourly charges up to 10 hours. So obviously we can't charge for hours 9 and 10 because obviously they can only charge from 10 till 6. So the updates to the order in front of you are just to remove hours 9 and 10, but still keep the all-day charge in there. So that's in relation to recommendation 2.1 and covers the car parks for Bottom Meadow, Cross Street, Esplanade, Lower Lindale, Upper Valley of the Rocks, and Waterfleet. Since the report was written, I've also picked up on one error. On page 30 of your agenda, you've got the car park that is the Manor Foreshore. So this is the area down by the seafront. It's only chargeable for 2 months of the year through July and August, and also 28 ad hoc days. Linton Limerick forgot to include the increased charges within the original off-street parking order. So page 30 in front of you shows £3.90 for 3 hours, £5.20 for 4 hours. It should be showing £4.20 for 3 hours, £5.60 for 4 hours, £7 for 5 hours, and then an all-day charge of 14. So it's just to put forward that proposed change also to Manor Foreshore to reflect the same hourly charging as in the wider town and coastal. So with that, subject to that change, the recommendation, the report at 2.1 also needs to add in then the Manor Foreshore car park change as well. The second recommendation in front of you is in relation to the long stay parking permits. You'll recall we separated out the new long stay car park at Seven Brethren. This was a car park that we wanted to, following the working group, to ensure it was heavily utilised, and there was no increased price permit for that car park. However, what didn't come forwards when the original off-street parking order came forwards was the opportunity for members of the public to pay that permit quarterly or monthly. We have in place with all of the other permits for the main Barnstable, Ilfracombe and wider permits, but we didn't have that in place for this one car park at Seven Brethren. So if members are happy, Appendix B, which is set out on page 37, just shows the new Seven Brethren long stay permit annual fee of £225, which hadn't been increased, but also incorporating a quarterly charge of £67.50 and a monthly charge of £72.50 in line with the existing arrangements in place for that permit. So, Chair, that's the two recommendations in front of you for consideration today. As I say, it's just to update those minor changes following the original off-street parking order, and obviously have to take any questions from members.
Okay, can we restrict questions to the specific changes? Councillor Bell?
Yes, of course. I don't like talking about parking at all. But just very quickly, I think this is probably the all-day charges in Linton and Lynmouth have gone up to £14, where it's 7, so it's for 8 hours, but at 7 hours it's £9.80. Is that because that's the all-day parking charge everywhere else, where it would be 10 hours? It just feels that perhaps the all-day parking charge in Linton should be whatever the 8-hour charge is everywhere else. But it just seems people are going to enjoy. And there's a lot to do in Linton and Lynmouth. I'm sure you can enjoy 10 hours there, but it's quite a jump. I just think for the sake of the council's reputation, people are going to look at that and be a little bit head scratchy and mocking when they're just in Linton looking, going, well, why is the all-day charge so? Why are you paying an extra £4.20 for hour 8 when you're only paying like an extra £1 for hour 7?
Yeah, and I think it is to align it with the all-day charges across all of the car parks, so there is that consistency. I think something for the future and something probably for the next car park working group to look is obviously the times of charging, because Linton and Lynmouth, which is run through the agency, is slightly different to all our other car parks, because all our other car parks in Ilfracombe and Barnstable do charge from 8 a.m. in the morning. Yeah. So again, it's that point about, well, why don't we charge from 8 a.m. in the morning at Linton and Lynmouth? So I think that's something that needs to get picked up. The reason the all-day charge was kept as it was originally approved back in January was to be consistent with the all-day charge across the community. So members of the public do have that choice. They can park for an hourly rate, or if they want to park all day, then obviously paying the same as what they pay across the wider market.
In hour 7.
Councillor Ricky now? So you said put your hand up before, no? No, sir. Oh, sorry.
Chair, John.
Councillor Marsh?
Yeah, I just going to ask John whether there's been great debate over the years about the Limited Agency, but from what I can gather, it's working really well again now, isn't it? And then running this for us is probably the most efficient way that we can run car parks in Lincoln, rather than sending people out from here, isn't it?
It is, yeah, and some members will recall we did a complete review of Limited Agency some years ago because there was that concern about different levels of service in Devon compared to maybe the wider North Devon. But the agency arrangement's been put in place. We have a 3-yearly review, so they have a new 3-year agreement. We're coming up to we're in the 3rd year now, so there'll be another review of that to the tail end of this year. So members will then be able to have time to shows the benefit of having the agency review in place. The agency services are working really well. The officer relationships between the town council and officers within different services here are working really effectively, and it's moved a long way from where it was years ago. So no, it's working really well. The returns we get are positive financially as well, considering where they were being on review when that review was carried out.
Good.
Any other questions? Any recommendation?
Any of you been
amendment.
Yes, amendment to 2.1. So on page 30 of the papers, which included Manor Foreshore. The amendment to 2.1 will include the Manor Foreshore car park in that list of car parks for approved changes to charges, and also those approved charges that I alluded to, which was 3 hours £4.20, 4 hours £5.60, 5 hours £7, and the all day charge £17 in Manor Foreshore car park.
Okay, so move that amendment, seconded by Councillor Bell. All those in favour of the amendment? Thank you. So we'll move to substantive recommendation. Everybody move the recommendation with the whole as amended. Seconded by Councillor Bell. All those in favour? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Item 9. Not such new issue.
It's just to note, Chair, this is an urgent decision that I've taken in the last few weeks. It's all set out. The decision's been taken, but if members want to ask any questions, I'm more than happy to respond. And basically, it was us trying to put back some money into the Ukrainian scheme. Government reduced the thank you payments that were being given to hosts from £500 to £350, and we did some number crunching and were able to increase that back up by £75 up to £425 for an additional 12 months. And the aim is really to recognise the sterling work that the Ukrainian hosts do, but also to recognise that if the drop in the thank you payments encouraged hosts to cease hosting, then the people that they were hosting would turn to us and our homelessness provision. So it's much better for us to pay that extra £75 and reduce the demand on the homelessness service, potential demand.
Thank you. Any questions? Councillor McKinnon, continue. Councillor Walker. Councillor McKinnon.
Dudley Law. Great, thank you. But I just interested, how many hosts do we have in London?
I don't have that information off the top of my head, but I can certainly find out and circulate it.
That'd be interesting. Yeah, okay, thank you.
Councillor Walker.
Yeah, just wanted to say as a host, thank you very much to North Devon Council for this very sensible uplift for this year. We became, I can say for most people, we became hosts to help people, and the thank you payment is appreciated. We didn't become hosts, we become landlords, which is what's been suggested by the government that we should do. That's basically, I think that North Devon is showing a sterling response to the cuts, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Walker. Councillor Lee, did you want to say?
I was going to ask the same question as Councillor Knight, really, about the numbers, and it'd be useful to know. I mean, it does seem like it's particularly mean and penny pinching.
Yeah.
policy of the government to do this. And I know a lot of the host families, you know, perhaps were not expecting to be in this position, you know, years on from when Ukraine was invaded. And I, you know, I think they do a fantastic job, you know, and I you know, I know from, you know, people in my ward that, you know, some of the strains and the difficulties on those families. So this, you know, this thank you is very much appreciated.
Any other comments? And I would like to say, you know, I think it's fantastic news what we're doing. I echo what Councillor Lever said about the penny pinching and from the government. I think it's wrong. We have to remind ourselves, don't we, sometimes when on a beautiful day like this in North Devon, that there's a war still going on in Europe. That war was started by President Putin. And anything that we can do, any small incremental things we can do to help the Ukrainians is a big move forward as far as I'm concerned. So I'm glad that you've taken this decision to at least drop a little bit more than we probably was. Take acknowledge what that was so big out. That's fantastic. Well done to you. Okay, Councillor Walker, thank you. Any other comments? Okay, that's the end of the meeting. Thank you very much, everybody, for turning up on this glorious Monday morning.